welcome to Cricket Conversations with my friend Hemant Kenkre one more time. Thank you for all the love that you've given us in the past. The first episode had good reception, and so we are back again with Cricket Conversations. Thank you, Hemant Dada, for being back again here today.
I think it's a pleasure, and the kind of feedback that we got from all our friends in the universe, as in the social media universe, has been brilliant. And a lot of people want to know more stuff about the good old days, as we call them.
Basically, Dada, what I wanted to talk to you about today is the fact that there was a time where scholastic cricket was important. We read about Eknath Solkar leading the Indian team, Sunil Gavaskar playing for Indian schoolboys, Mohinder and Surinder Amarnath coming from the schoolboys team to play for India. But over a number of years, scholastic cricket took the backseat. We don't even remember Rohinton Barya Trophy anymore. It's not such an important fixture in the Indian cricket calendar. And the Visi Trophy, we don't even know if zonal teams are selected and they're playing like in the past. But now you've got age group cricket that BCCI runs itself. What I'm going to try is to try and make sense of how the cricket assembly line has changed over a number of years. There was a time where schools cricket was popular. The Indian schoolboys team would go to England and play against the English schoolboys, or the London schoolboys team would come to India and play. India would go to Ceylon, as Sri Lanka was called, and play matches there. The young boys were groomed into the art of playing Test cricket at a very, very early stage in their cricketing career. But now it seems slightly different. Boys have to play under 15, under 17, under 19. Then they graduate to Ranji Trophy. So we'll just look at the assembly lines, Dada, and see how change has happened and if the change has been good for the better of Indian cricket or not. Yes, we are romantics. Yes, we are die-hard old timers. But we will talk about change in just a bit. But what are your memories of the schoolboys team that I'm talking about, Hemanta? Because I read Eknath Solkar leading the Indian team, of like I said, Sunil Gavaskar playing for the Indian schoolboy, a whole lot of players. We heard some fascinating names. Ramesh Nagdev, for example, one name that stands in my memory. I have none at all of watching him cricket, but the name sticks in mind. And what are your memories of schools cricket back in the 60s?
Well, I mean, my earliest memory is, I came from the same school, which was St. Xavier's High School Fort, which was, in opposite the Metro Cinema in Bombay, then Bombay, now Mumbai. And our school had two students who were selected for the Indian schoolboys team, which played the London schoolboys in 65-66. And the test match, the quote-unquote test match was held at the Brabant Stadium. And we had two, as I said, two boys. One was, of course, Sunil Gavaskar, and the other one was Milind Rege, who at that point in time was the captain of the St. Xavier's High School team. The school gave a half day or a holiday, if I remember correctly. And I must have been about 8 years old, and somehow all of us made our way. And Sunil, if I remember correctly, got 116, I think, if memory is right. And so Milind played that match, and Ramesh Nagdev, and there was Mohinder Amarnath, there was Surinder Amarnath, there was Eknath Solkar, as you rightly said, the captain of the team. Plus, there was Dheeraj Parsana. So there were so many of these players who played in that particular game, who eventually ended up playing for India. And a lot of them who did not play for India ended up with a glorious first-class career, like A.A. Asif, Hyderabad. He sort of promised to deliver, if I may put it that way. Then there was Milind Rege, who served Bombay cricket so well, not just as a cricketer, but even now he continues to serve as a selector and, as a mentor to a lot of cricketers, including people like Sachin Tendulkar, Vinod Kambli, and a lot of others. So, I think that was my first memory. Then, of course, I remember it's a very funny incident because, 67 was the tour, which, was supposed to go to England. And that was the year when Sunil Gavaskar and Milind Rege, because these were the two people I knew very well. The families, Sunil and I are related, and Milind's almost like family. He is family, actually. So, they were probably would have gone on that tour had they not, passed out, had given their SSC examinations. Those were the standard 11 days, if anybody remembers. And so, everybody was telling Sunil, that, he should go on that tour. But his parents just put their foot down and said nothing doing. And if I remember correctly, somebody in the family, I think probably it was Mr. Manohar Gavaskar, Sunil's father, who said that, if you're good enough, you'll go with the Indian team. So, that was a kind of scholastic, you use the word scholastic. I think then, yes, cricket was important, very, very important. everybody wanted the not only the players but also their parents wanted them to succeed and go ahead as India cricketers. But I think in those days studies came first, and I think that was very critical. And after that, of course, I remember the other tour, which was in '68. This was the Indian schoolboys, which again had Moin-ud-Dowla part of that tour. There was Rakesh Tandon, if I remember, my partner from the CCI Cricket Club of India days. And there was Karsan Ghavri, who also went to Australia. So I think what happened in those days were different because there was only schools cricket, then there was university cricket, and then I guess those who were good enough played Ranji Trophy, and then and so on and so forth, and went on to play for India. However, there were a lot of other cricketers. For example, I can give you the case of Kailash Gatani. He probably at the age of 16, where he was I think barely out of school and into college, was picked by Rajasthan to play Ranji Trophy for Rajasthan. So there were a few exceptions, but by and large, the ladder was as we just spoke: school cricket, university cricket, Ranji Trophy, and then play for India.
Right. We'll talk a bit about school, a little bit more about school cricket. I'm sure you played some yourself, but I have to tell you this story, Dada, and I'm kind of imposing myself on you.
I'd love to know, absolutely.
I used to play for All Saints. I was in the 7th standard when All Saints High School in Hyderabad. It was damn good school for cricket.
There are some familiar names. Names from that school.
Yeah, my wonderful memories of the school are hearing that Syed Abid Ali, one of India's finest all-rounders, played for the school. There was Sultan Salim. He had the reputation of having hit a six that went and hit the spire of the church in front of the school. So they were legends. And then, of course, Muhammad Azharuddin became the most famous of the boys to pass out and play for India. There was Venkatpati Raju, much my junior. But I had to change schools in the 7th class. After the 7th class, I went from a convent school, I went into a so-called Hindu school. And try as we might, we could not convince the principal of forming a cricket team for the school. So 2 years we had to keep fighting. And in my 10th class, we finally got his permission to field the team in the Basalajja Trophy tournament in Hyderabad. Now, who do we meet in the first round? But All Saints High School.
Wow!
Look at the irony. And we were a ragtag outfit. There were not many cricketers. We were really a ragtag outfit. And some of us are very passionate. So I told Azim, I was leading the school team, and Azim was leading All Saints. Abdul Azim, who went on to play for South Zone, for Hyderabad and for South Zone, played some fantastic knocks, was the opening batsman and captain of the All Saints High School team. Azhar was part of the side. Now, I told him that, look, we are a very weak team, so allow us to bat first. So we'll get out quickly, and then you can finish off the match early, and we will go home. But Azim would not listen to me. So he won the toss and batted first. Got 100. No, this was a 30-over match. And Azim got 100, and All Saints got more than 230 runs in the 30 overs. We were miserable on the field. And when our turn came to bat, there was sledging. The first time I ever faced sledging was from Azim. And he said that, why don't you guys get off? So we batted through the 30 overs. I remained 29 not out. And batted through the 30 overs for 29 not out. Just stonewalled against the All Saints attack. We must have finished at 78 for 9 or something like that. But we played through the 30 overs. And the sledging was, why don't you guys get out? Ghar jayenge, ghar jayenge. Then I said, look, I told you, ghar jane ka time pehle tha, abhi nahi hai. And I just stonewalled for 30 overs. And that's my only memory of school, my school cricket. I'm sure you have some like that yourself, Hemant.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the first thing that, I go back, I mean, this is also not forgetting about your and my memories. And I'm sure the Hyderabadi slang must have been very colorful, if I may put it that
way. Not in those days. We were innocent lads back then.
But I mean, we are still innocent. But having said that, tell me, I mean, was schools cricket in those days in Hyderabad, for example, or was it like a over limit cricket? Because the kind of schools cricket that we played in Bombay, and I say Bombay because it was called Bombay in those days, no offense meant to anybody. We used to play. They used to have a 2-day game. I mean, in 2 days, invariably the game used to be over. Then I believe then they went on to like a 3rd day or a 4th day. Like for example, we had 2 tournaments. One was the Kite Shield. The other one was the Harris Shield, which is very famous and has thrown up international and national cricketers of repute, right from Vijay Merchant right down to Sachin Tendulkar, even Sanjay Manjrekar, and many more. So, were there a lot of, was it like a over-restricted cricket in Hyderabad, or what was it? Was it like a day game, or what?
We had we had two tournaments, Dada. There was the Mono Trophy and the Basalajja Trophy. There were two tournaments. One was run by the Physical Education Department of the Government of Andhra Pradesh, by of the school board, and then the other was run by Hyderabad Cricket Association. So it was pretty organized. We would have day games, but not 2 days until you got to the semi-final and final. The better teams would get to play day games. The lesser teams, like my own, would get to play limited over matches because they had to play a number of matches. Can't blame the Hyderabad Cricket Association or the Directorate of Physical Education of the Board of Secondary Schools in Hyderabad. The structure was such. There were so many schools taking part and they wanted to finish the tournament. So some of the weaker teams would get to play limited over format, and the stronger teams, as they got closer to the knockout stages, the semi-final and final especially, they would get to play day game. They were very strong teams. Alia High School was very strong. There was Hyderabad Public School. There were two of them. There was one in Begumpet and there was one in Ramantapur. Both teams were very strong, but All Saints invariably would dominate local cricket back in my time. I don't think much has changed in terms of school cricket, but it has taken the backseat. I will take you forward to the Rohinton Baria cricket. Rohinton Baria was a very important fixture, and I grew up reading about the 327 that Ajit Wadekar scored, and then Sunil Gavaskar going past that to get 329. I don't know if I've got the numbers right, but Ajit Wadekar held the record and Sunil Gavaskar went past him. Ajit Wadekar's triple century was in a final against Delhi, if I'm not mistaken, and that took him straight away into the test reckoning. Rohinton Baria was a big tournament. It is not just about Ajit Wadekar and Sunil Gavaskar. A number of players, Dilip Doshi, Bishan Singh Bedi, I think even P.S. Chandrasekhar, S. Venkatraghavan, so many of them have played university cricket. Obviously, now it is not such an important fixture in the Indian cricket calendar because they have become over-restricted cricket. But how important was Rohinton Baria for a cricketer in his progress back in the 60s and 70s? If not even in the 50s. I read some former cricketers played the university cricket in the 50s as well and went on to play for India.
I think for all of us, it was very interesting to see, the progression from school cricket to university cricket. That's number one. So Bombay, and I can speak about Bombay because, then we saw, our seniors, and a lot of them used to live in the same area that I did. And this is apart from Sunil Gavaskar and Milind Rege. I'm talking about somebody like a Sudhir Naik, for example, also played for India. There was Ashok Mankad, who used to live in the Chapati area. And there were so many other senior cricketers, who played for Bombay University and, played Rohinton Baria. And then, of course, the zonal, if you remember correctly, in those days was called Visi Trophy. I don't know if it still exists. But I think there were very interesting, stories about how, as you mentioned, Ajit Wadekar, scoring that triple hundred, the highest score in those days. And then, getting into the India squad, though he obviously made his test debut much, much later in 1966. Sunil Gavaskar getting, a ton of hundreds, and then, capping it with that record-breaking 329 or 24 against, I think it was the Saurashtra team at Pune, if I remember correctly. Many years later, there was Sanjay Manjrekar, who was, in the Bombay squad, but, wasn't like sort of a regular. And he scored 700s on the trot, in both Rohinton Baria as well as Visi Trophy combined. That is, inter-university and inter-university zonal. And so there have been so many cases. The story I remember is something which the late Madhav Mantri, former India wicketkeeper and, captain of Bombay and also the president of the Bombay Cricket Association of those days told me. And he mentioned that he was, one of the, either a manager or a selector sometime in the 50s when young Pankaj Roy, who used to play for Calcutta University those days as a middle order batsman. And Pankaj Da apparently had shown a lot of promise, getting hundreds against Holkar and everything. But obviously he was not, anywhere in the reckoning for the Indian team. And they were playing against the MCC, if I remember correctly. That's what Mr. Mantri said. And Mr. Mantri asked him to go and open the innings. He said, the only way you probably might get a chance into the Indian team is if you open the innings and get runs. And that's exactly what Pankaj Da did. And Pankaj Da opened the innings, in the combined universities game against the MCC. I think it was at Bangalore. And then, eventually, even the same year, he made his debut for India, and before Sunil Gavaskar came on the scene, Pankaj Da was renowned as one of the foremost and the finest opening batsmen, I would say, between Vijay Marchant, of the old days, and Sunil Gavaskar of the comparative modern era. So I mean, Pankaj Da, the other cases of Dilip Sardesai, similar thing happened. He hadn't played for Bombay, if I remember correctly, and from what I've heard and what I've researched, he made his debut against the Pakistanis in 1960, 59-60, if I'm not mistaken, and he played. He got 80 odd runs in that game. Then, consequently, because of that innings, he was picked for the board president's 11, where he got 100. And then he finally made his debut against the Pakistanis. So, combined universities was a great vehicle for young cricketers to sort of be known and to play for India. Anshuman Gaikwad got 100 against the West Indies in '74. The Clive Lloyd's team played for India. There are so many cases. Subroto Guha, all across India. Bishan Singh Bedi. I mean, there's so much that Beji Paji, in North Punjab, if I'm not mistaken, University in '65, '66, if I get the date right. All these performances, got the what shall I say, the selectors or people who are watching cricket, interested, and they started telling people, this is the guy you need to watch out for because he's showing the kind of capability. Gavaskar's case, for example, after he scored 30 odd runs against New Zealand in a combined universities game, is when Vijay Merchant realized that here was an opening batsman, who batted like an opening batsman should, leaving the ball, playing the ball correctly. So I think combined universities, has done a great human service for India in terms of right from the times of Pankaj Da or Polly Umregar, Dilip Sardesai, right down to the Amarnath brothers, Bishan Bedi, of course, slightly in between these two, Sunil Gavaskar, right up to Sanjay Manjrekar, including Kapil Dev and Ravi Shastri.
And Azharuddin as well.
Azharuddin, absolutely. I mean, there are so many cases. I mean, you can't. Absolutely, and Azhar's case also. I remember, one of our teammates, Taka teammates, who used to play for Hyderabad, Vijay Mohan Raj, and he had told us about Azhar, much before he sort of played for India, and said, what a player. I mean, he was just waxing eloquent about the kind of ease that Azhar used to play. So I think these tournaments like the Kuch Bihar, the Rohit and Baria, the Vizis, and also Raj, I would love to sort of rack your brains on the private tournaments that used to happen in India. And let's go back to one of my favorite tournaments, which again, unfortunately, I never played, but I heard so much about. The Moin-ud-Dowla Gold Cup, which used to be held in Hyderabad. I think all the cricketers of India used to come and play that. And if I mistake not, I think it was the curtain raiser for the entire season. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. They also say that if it did not rain in Hyderabad, you just have to conduct the Rain-ud-Dowla tournament. So every time there was Moin-ud-Dowla, there was rain. But on a more serious note, it was the first, it was the precursor to Ranji Trophy. Every season it used to be held in September or October, and you would have some fantastic cricket being played in Hyderabad. My own memories are, thanks to my father being a sport journalist, are of watching a lot of matches. Would queue up to watch Sunil Gavaskar playing for ACC back in 1971, just after his tour of England, after the West Indies tour, of course. You would watch Chandrasekhar play for UFOM. You would watch Pataudi play for BST and lead team of youngsters. You would watch Ajit Wadekar, Bishan Bedi, Hanuman Singh, P. Krishnamurthy, Syed Kirmani, all of them playing for State Bank of India, Syed Abid Ali, of course. Yeah. And then youngsters like Karsan Gavri, and because I'm talking 70s, I'm talking of a youngster called Karsan Gavri. Then there was my all-time favorite.
Karsan Bhai, as we, all of us, those who know him and played with him, call him Kadu Bhai. Kadu Bhai is still young, believe you me. I mean, he's raring to go. He's just finished a great season with Saurashtra as a coach, having sort of come from that state. But just a small little, just an interaction. If I'm not mistaken, I think Eknath Solkar, Ramnath Parkar, Sunil Gavaskar, and if I'm not mistaken, I think maybe Milind Rege, of course, and a lot of these people who eventually played a lot of local cricket, and beautifully for so many years, proficiently. And Test cricketers made their debut for VST Colts. I mean, do you have any sort of recollections of that?
I think my father was one of the people instrumental in the revival of the Moin-ud-Dowla Gold Cup cricket in Hyderabad. He was joint secretary of the Hyderabad Cricket Association for a number of years. Between Mr. Nuh Abbasi, who was the secretary, and my father, they planned to revive the Moin-ud-Dowla Gold Cup. And one of the teams that they fielded, that they invited, was the VST Colts. VST was a big cigarette manufacturer in Hyderabad,
Yes.
was one of the foremost sponsors of Indian cricket for many years, until cigarette companies were stopped from sponsoring or endorsing sport. Now, VST was a very important team. VST Colt was a very important team. It gave a break to a number of youngsters, and they would either play with Pataudi as the captain. Sometimes it would be a Vijay Manjrekar as captain. Sometimes it could be Jaisima leading the team. Eventually, what happened is, and now we talk about IPL bringing in people from different parts of the country together and building them as a team. You got to see it in VST. Uh, Youngsters, Mohin-ud-Dowla have played for VST Court. A lot of
Yes.
youngsters would come together and learn from the masters just by observing them. Uh, it was truly a master class, a wonderful way to evolve as a cricketer. Many of these youngsters, and I think all of them remain grateful to the Moin-ud-Dowla tournament and VST Court for giving them those breaks. Uh, Very early in their career, they got recognized as having potential. I think that is a terrific way of encouraging youngsters to take up cricket. But right now, what we get to see, Hemant, and sorry, I will before I even come to the present time, let me take you to a little story of the Moin-ud-Dowla Gold Cup. One of my favorite bowlers there was Karsan Gavri. Amitabh Bachchan was a big growing star at that point in time, and he had this typical Amitabh Bachchan hairstyle, or step cut as we called it, and Karsan wore that style. He was not as tall as Amitabh Bachchan was, but he was a giant in his own right. Karsan was, for me at least, he was. I remember one year he won the Best All-Rounder trophy, and you know what it was? It was a small cup. It was just this size, and it was gifted by an ice cream seller who used to sell ice cream in front of All Saints High School, Aziz Mia. Aziz Mia would push the trolley and sell ice cream. He was so taken in by what he saw of Karsan Gavri, gifted him a small trophy, very, very tiny. I don't know if Karsan got it, but it etched in my memory. Now, I will never forget Aziz Bhai's gesture, an ice cream seller giving away a trophy to somebody who went on to play very, very good cricket for India. And I don't think I will ever forget that. There are many more memories of Pataudi leading a team and Chandra coming to the ground, for example, because he was playing for a different team. Pataudi was leading the Hindustan Breweries side, and Chandra was playing for U-Form. So he came to the Fateh Maidan and asked Tiger, "Where is my team staying?" And Tiger sent him to the Ritz, which was the biggest hotel in Hyderabad at that point of time, when U-Form was not staying at the Ritz. Now, this is the kind of prank that Tiger would play on unsuspecting teammates. And Chandra took it on his chin, had a good laugh about it, eventually found his teammate. These are stories you pick up when you're young and not by way of gossip, but it is really memorable. That tournament was my education. There were other tournaments, Hemant. There was Shishmahal in Lucknow. There was Uchi Babu in Tamil Nadu, in Madras. Over a number of years, you also had the Steel Trophy, the Sail Trophy that was held in Delhi, Escort Trophy in Delhi. There was also the KSA tournament in Bangalore. So, number of tournaments. And there was Arlen Trophy in Goa.
There was Shaheed Memorial at Agra. I remember playing all those tournaments. Then there was also the Lal Bahadur Shastri being played at Allahabad. And I think just going back, the lovely story that you told about Aziz Mia and Little Cup. I mean, I don't know, the people, probably the generation, maybe just before mine, who probably be listening to this would probably remember, there used to be a wonderful fan of cricket called Babu Tangewala, in Pune. And whoever got 100, and this was not restricted to only Ranji Trophy or, first class games being played at the Nehru Stadium there. But, even if a young boy scored 100 in a university game or whatever, getting a har, as in a garland. And Babu Tangewala used to take a garland and run on the field and, put a garland on the neck of that player. And from what I've heard from the generation before mine, it was as much as an honor to get a har from a garland from Babu Tangewala, as much as it would be probably getting the actually cup as a man of the match or something. So I think fans in India, the whole ethos of cricketers coming very close to their fans, when they play tournaments such as these, because I'm sure the security restrictions must be much less. Plus, where would you get a chance to see the best cricketers in the country all coming at one stage at one particular time. But in tournaments like these, like the Moin-ud-Dowla Gold Cup, for example, or the Sheesh Mahal in Lucknow, or even for that matter, the Buchi Babu in Madras, what is called Chennai today. So I think it's very interesting, facet of Indian cricket, which unfortunately is not written about in the history of the game so far. At least I've not read too many people write about it.
It was not very long ago that I spoke with Mohammad Azharuddin and asked him his first memories of the Moin-ud-Dowla Gold Cup. He said he spent a rupee on buying a ticket, 1 rupee ticket. The sun would stream into the eastern stand, because as the sun is going down, the eastern stand was all ablaze. And Azhar remembered watching Gundappa Vishwanath for the first time in the Moin-ud-Dowla Gold Cup. Eventually, they went on to be colleagues in the State Bank team. I don't think they ever played, but the kind of impact that Vishwanath had on youngsters watching, we got to see Mohammad Azharuddin being so influenced by Vishwanath that we got to see the magic of the wrist. I think it is important for us to remember those tournaments and sometimes celebrate them. But you also have to move on in time. At some point of time, I think the board got a little upset with the way the schools tournament was run, with the way the universities tournament were run, and then decided that it would have age group cricket. I remember ML Jaisima from Hyderabad being very instrumental as a consultant for Nutrien Confectionery. He ran an under-15 tournament called the Nutrien Trophy for the South Zone schools team. It was no longer schools team. It became an under-15 tournament, and Jaisima was instrumental in, I think, in forming the age group cricket at a very, very early stage. We now get to see cricket being played at the under-15 level. It's a beautiful pyramid that the BCCI has now got. Under-15, under-17, and under-19. I remember the last time a schools team did anything, an Indian schools team did anything, was when Ritinder Sodhi and his teammates won the Lombard World Cup at Lords. But this is many, many years ago. And it was still, BCCI had migrated to age group cricket. Now, one of the things that has happened because of age group cricket is that players lost this appetite for scholastics, for education. Because if you're picked to play Ranji Trophy at 17, if you're today picked to play IPL at 19, then you're not very serious about pursuing studies. Do you think that cricket has benefited because the BCCI has taken ownership of all cricket age group?
I see. If you talk about a benefit, it just gives an opportunity for somebody, whose school may not be very sort of good. For example, you said, there are ranked school and there are schools which are not ranked. Like we used to have the same problem, in Bombay in those days. There were 3 or 4 schools, Anjuman Islam, Balmohan, King George, who were really sort of, and if you looked at the Bombay schools team, which is now called the under-19 team, I mean, almost 60 or 70% of the boys used to be from these schools. And the rest of them were more facile guys like from us, one or two from maybe me, like from a St. Xavier's or something like that. But I think that's one. The other advantage, so obviously a lot more boys who are playing this tournament is because of age and not the school that they belong to. Right? That's number one. Number two, also the fact that they get more exposure and they get many more games to play. Like, you probably play a schools tournament in your city, whichever city that you belong to. And then you probably played for your city schools 11 or your state schools 11, which is a Bombay or a Madhya Pradesh or a Bengal or whatever. And then if you were lucky, probably if Indian schools was playing in those days, school boys, as they used to call themselves, the team used to be called Indian school boys, you were lucky. Otherwise, you just, graduated to university. Having said that, I think opportunities given is one big advantage. But the also big disadvantage that comes, and this is a big problem that has been facing Indian cricket for so long, and like ostriches, everybody, including all of us, are just hiding it under the carpet, and that's age fudging, and that is rampant in the age group tournaments. Not that it was not happening in schools, but I can assure you, when we played inter-school tournaments, when we went out of the city, or even when we were playing local school matches in the city of Bombay, we found guys who are much elder than what they pretended to be. So I think age fudging, as you know, is a big issue, and I think it's a rampant problem that has been facing Indian cricket for a long time. Obviously, it all gets sorted out once the boy goes to a senior level, and then there is no age, so he plays with his peers. So I think there are a lot of positives that age group cricket has, as well as negatives. The other thing is also the kind of, what shall I say, the kind of loyalty that comes when you play for a school or your club. I mean, if you ask anybody in the past, those who have played or watched Bombay cricket prosper, as it did in the 60s, 70s, 80s, until recently, we'll realize that the loyalty that the boys, the people, the Bombay cricketers had for their clubs and their colleges and school was what actually instilled the same loyalty for their for their state teams and then eventually for the country. So there are positives for age group cricket as well as negatives.
I remember reading Dilip Doshi's autobiography, Spin Punch, and one of the earliest chapters there talks about Rohinton Bharia. And one year, Calcutta University had decided, the sports department had decided against fielding the team in the Rohinton Bharia Trophy, even at the zonal level. They didn't want to play. And Dilip Doshi writes that between him and Gopal Bose, they managed to convince the vice chancellor of Calcutta University to allow the team to go on and play. And imagine that year they won the Rohinton Bharia. Calcutta University went on to win the Rohinton Bharia. And Dilip Doshi says that one of the reasons why the sports department had chosen not to send a team in the first place was because a number of cricketers were part-time. They already had jobs and they were studying part-time, including Dilip at that point of time, because he already had a job. I think he came from a well-to-do family and was looking after family business as well, and was only a part-time student. Now, it existed even then.
Yes.
Today, if you include a player who's not really a full-time student, you might complain, just like we are complaining about age group. So there have been negatives and there have been positives with all forms of cricket. But I think overall, the assembly line has been good. It has produced a number of players. Sachin Tendulkar and Vinod Kambli's massive partnership came in a schools tournament, and I think we did discover a number of players from the school. You might want to tell me about memories and how that school became a hub for cricket activity. I think Ajit Agarkar came from the same school as well, didn't he?
Well, there were many. There was apart from Sachin and there was Ajit Agarkar, as you said. There was Amol Majumdar. There was Samir Dige. There was Praveen Amre, who also played for India. So Shardashram didn't really have a history before Achrekar sir took over. And I remember because I used to play for Achrekar sir's team called Sasanyan, which is the club where Vinod, Sachin and all later played. Chandrakant Pandit also played. And I think Sir came into coaching because he wanted to coach, not because he was a professional coach where it was a part of his livelihood. He was working with the State Bank of India, and if I'm not mistaken, he played only one first-class game, that to a Moin-ud-Dowla game, if I remember correctly, many years ago for State Bank of India, All India State Bank of India. So Achrekar Sir started coaching, a team called Dayanand Balak Vidyamandir, which was a lot of North Indian boys people who worked in Bombay. That was a school supporting a lot of North Indian boys. Then he sort of also coached Hindi Vidya Bhavan, a very pretty upmarket Sobo school, South Bombay school. And one of his students goes by the name of Uday Kotak, who is now a very, very big factor. So Uday Kotak is also a Achrekar product, if I may put it that way. So people like Ramakant Achrekar, today we have a Vidya Paradkar, for example, in Bombay cricket. There is a Dinesh Lad, who we used to call Raju Lad. These people are not really professional coaches from a money perspective. They are coaches because they want to give to the game what they have learned. Not all of them have played fantastic, international or national cricket, but they're very dedicated people. They produce cricketers. Like Vidya Paradkar has produced somebody like Ajinkya Rane, Raju Lad, Dinesh Lad has given India Rohit Sharma, whom he turned from an off spinner to a middle order batsman, and also sort of his son Siddesh Lad. And a lot of cricketers, Shardul Thakur, for example. So I guess I'm talking about Bombay, and I'm sure there must be a lot of other such, kya bolte, dardi log bolte na, we say, like they're hardcore romantics. I want to give back to the game. And I don't think they even charged their schools or whoever they were coaching any kind of transport money as well. I mean, they used to just go there, coach. And a lot of them did that. In the old days, you had Luma Kenny, LB Kenny, who opened the innings with Vijay Merchant for Bombay. He used to be a very prolific and a very, very popular coach. And, people like Sunil Gavaskar, for example, Bilind Rege, their first stint in nets was, under the tutelage of Luma sir, Luma Kenny, including me. Vinu Mankad, for example. I don't think they did it for money. So it was this love for the game. One, it was two, they wanted to share their knowledge. And the knowledge that they'd learned, imbibed. See, if you watch cricket in a Bombay or a Chennai, Madras today, or even for that matter, a Kolkata in the good old days, we had all the international cricketers playing local cricket in those days. Nobody, did not play for their clubs. Like if you had a say, whoever the cricketers may be, Pankaj Roy in those days, Calcutta maybe, or Bishan Paji in Delhi, they played for their clubs. So Sunil Gavaskar played for his club in Bombay. Sachin Tendulkar, until about, I would say, early 90s, early 90s or mid 90s, yes, cricketers used to play local cricket. After that, I think the only time a local cricketer can play against an international cricketer is if either he plays for a state and is lucky enough to have the international cricketer playing that particular game. So I guess age group cricket, club cricket, private cricket tournaments like the Moin-ud-Dowla, etc., have played a huge, big role, in developing the ladder. But I guess Raj, now it's all changed. It's now it's all stars and smokes and mirrors and what shall I say, cheerleaders. So it's all changing. I'm sure it's changing for the better. I really don't know. I hope it does in the long run, because I can say one thing: whatever the Indian Premier League (IPL) must be doing for the younger cricketers in terms of money and maybe recognition, I don't think it's doing too much in from a romantic perspective, from a long-term perspective. Though I don't have a problem watching an IPL, but I guess there are some do's, there are some positives and negatives about that feeder route as well.
For the longest time, I believe that IPL is also cricket. Right? It's a
Yes.
contact between bat and ball, so I really have no problem with IPL. In fact, sometimes I actually enjoy an IPL game because of the energy. That was the kind of energy I used to feel when I watched Moin-ud-Dowla. If it was a State Bank of India versus a Hyderabad 11 or a UFOM 11, you would get to see that energy. You would get to feel that energy in the field. Not anymore. You don't get to feel that energy in domestic tournaments. Some of them have fallen by the wayside. The IPL has its uses, but I think what has happened is the youngsters, especially those coming through the under 17 and under 19 rank, their focus is very much on IPL. You might play for the Indian team, you might lead the Indian team, play the World Cup really well, help India win. I think from the time Yuvraj Singh and Mohammad Kaif graduated from the under 19 World Cup into the Indian side, and then did well for India as well. Yuvraj and Mohammad Kaif, very early examples of people graduating from age group cricket to senior cricket. And then you had Virat Kohli leading India to victory, and then quickly playing for India as well, getting into the Indian team. You also had the tragic, if I might call it tragic, the case of Unmukh Chand. He led India.
Yes.
He did a brilliant job of leading India in the World Cup in Australia, and then has kind of got lost because the whole focus seems to be on not just his, but a lot of young players now are using the age group cricket as an entry into IPL rather than into Ranji Trophy.
Yes.
I think Sunil Gavaskar had to wait for a number of years before he got to play his second Ranji Trophy match. I think his first Ranji Trophy match came in early enough, but he had to wait for a number of years to play his second Ranji Trophy match. The assembly line was such that you had to learn patience, and you had to keep scoring in whatever format you were playing as a stepping stone into the Ranji Trophy team. But today, Ranji Trophy doesn't seem to be such a strong draw for many youngsters. They want to get into IPL side, and that is my problem with the assembly line. I think coaches down the line need to tell the players that Test cricket is the ultimate, that you need to represent your state in Ranji Trophy, that you want to perform consistently in Ranji Trophy. I know the case of, let's say, Ambati Rayudu, who wanted to play white ball cricket all the time because he had a chance of playing for India with white ball cricket, suddenly wanting to play Ranji Trophy, and the Hyderabad Cricket Association telling him that he probably wouldn't have place in days cricket, even if he were leading the team, because he's going to block some youngsters' place in the side. Now, Hyderabad struggled a little bit in Ranji Trophy. But if the focus is IPL, if the whole theme of a young cricketer is IPL, there was a time when parents would take children to coaches and say, "Isko Sachin Tendulkar bana do." Now, the whole focus is isko IPL mein dakhil kara do. Take him into IPL. It does hurt you when you hear stories like this. It does hurt you. Maybe cricket romantics will keep lamenting the fact that parents' mindset has changed. How have you yourself seen it, Hemant? Do you see what I'm saying, or have you seen it differently?
No, I'm seeing it the same way. See, first, always remember that international cricketers who played before the 90s, if I may put it, the mid or late 90s, were primarily people who got jobs with various organizations. Obviously, I don't want to get into the history of cricket. There's a lot of history about how the Maharajas helped cricket in the early days, after which the private companies took over. So, if you are a university cricketer, or if you had played a first-class game for whichever state or city that you represented, you are a sort of a job in a PSU or a bank or an organization like India Cements or Tata's or Nirlon or whatever. In those days, I'm talking about, or a bank. So I think cricket gave you that opportunity of getting a job. So you had a secure future. You would retire as a, maybe if you're clever enough or good enough, as a deputy general manager or a general manager, or like Mr. Wadekar, sort of he retired as the as a PR head of State Bank or something like that. So that was one. Number two, now there is no career in the sense career is cricket. There is no via media. Like there is no bank or an organization like a Tata's, which I represented for many, many years. Thing is now cricket is a career. It's cricket itself is giving you employment. It's not through a bank or an organization which employs you because you play cricket. And then your cricket gets over, then you get into working like everybody else did. I mean, whoever worked, right from sort of Najit Wadekar in the old days, or whoever played cricket and continued working till they retired, did the same thing, including Sunil Gavaskar's era. But I think it's different now. The point is that even Dilip Vengsarkar, for example, till the time that he reached the age of 60, he was still going every day to work with the Tata Power company. So, I mean, that was the kind of thing. That's number one. Number two is cricket today is direct in the sense there's no middleman. There is no a way of making money through getting a job or getting employment playing cricket, or then maybe being a coach and making money. So I think it's an industry, number one, and that is something all us romantics should accept and move on. My only lament is that the magic that you see in longer format game, which is maybe a 3-day, 4-day, or a 5-day game, whether it's a first class game or whether it's a test match. I mean, that kind of magic which we saw, I guess, will obviously, it's just a matter of time. I guess, how long are you going to just propagate, by, speaking on forums like these? Oh, test cricket should be alive. Oh, we should do this. We should do that. There's nothing we can do. If the world wants the IPL, if the world wants T20, they'll get it. Simple as that.
I get the point. Also, I think one of the good things that has happened because of age group cricket, Dada, is the fact that young players get a number of matches now. With more and more teams around, the format following Ranji Trophy, they get a number of matches more. There was a time where, let's take Hyderabad cricketer, a youngster from Hyderabad would play against Karnataka, which was Mysore, Madras or Tamil Nadu, Andhra and Kerala. There were 4 games they would get. And if you qualify for the knockout, you get a couple of more games. Otherwise, your season ended after 4 games. If your team did not qualify, your season ended after 4 games. But now they get at least twice as many matches, if not more. And I think they get the platform to perform because it's all under the BCCI banner. And you get noticed. You get noticed by talent scouts. You get noticed by the BCCI website itself. If you perform consistently well, your state team picks you up quickly enough. Because it is in a system, sometimes the junior selector has a word with the senior selector, and you get to play Ranji Trophy fast enough. I think there are lots of positives with what has happened to the assembly line. Hopefully, BCCI will also learn from having to scrap the limited over tournaments for some of the younger players. They did well to remove white ball cricket from under 15 stage so that they would develop the right skills. Their talent and skills combination would go in the right direction. Otherwise, white ball cricket, everyone's playing the 360-degree cricket that A.B. de Villiers tried without having his talent. Everyone's trying to inculcate those skills without having his kind of talent. That's what television has done. A strong influence television is, but age group cricket has its beautiful positives. And I think if BCCI can embrace the change and learn from its mistakes, I think age group cricket will be the right kind of funnel. But what has happened, Hemant, is nobody goes to watch these age group matches anymore. When I moved to Delhi, I was told Hindu College versus St. Stephen College, an annual fixture, maybe the final of Delhi College cricket. would draw at least 10,000 people a day. And if it was a 5-day game, it had a 50,000 attendance. And my friend Vijay Lokoli told me that if you don't go and cover a match like that, you're missing something really good. Uh, Today, unfortunately, we don't know when that match is played. If it is a 30-over match or a 20-over match, you have no idea. Uh, yes, we will keep lamenting. The romantics will want to go back in time and watch some of those fascinating schools and colleges play some memorable cricket. But I think that is in the past. We'll have to learn to watch under 17 and under 19, not just when they become international stars, not just when the Indian team is playing the ICC under 19 World Cup, but also at a lower level. Start encouraging them so that we learn, we get to watch them at a very early stage.
My only thing with the age group cricket, I mean, I absolutely have no issues at all. In fact, I enjoy watching the young boys play, whether it's inter-school or an age group game. I used to go and watch regularly this tournament called the Kalpesh Kohli Memorial, which unfortunately this year got cancelled because of COVID, which is where Wasim Jafar also came into prominence, if I mistake not. Having said that, I think what is critical for state associations and the body, which is the BCCI, is to look out for the age fudging issues, which is a big problem, because it doesn't give the kids a level playing field. It's really not fair to see somebody with a big mustache calling himself 15 years old, bowling like a big boy, and while the others, like we saw that unfortunate case of a kid scoring 1,000 runs in a game in Kalyan or somewhere in Bombay, and he was suddenly, the media just made him to be like the next Don Bradman. I mean, that was so ridiculous. I mean, this is what my problem is. My problem is people who really understand talent, who like people who saw, like I was there when Virat Kohli led the team to a victory in 2008 in Kuala Lumpur, and you remember we were both on talking to one another on Doordarshan in those days, or All India Radio, if I remember correctly. So you saw the talent, and you knew here is a talent. Here is a good guy. The problem is that age group fudging is a big problem, and to me, as far as age group cricket is concerned, that is one area which the BCCI needs to look at one way or the other. Maybe look at some scientific way of finding out, whether a person is age group or not. I think also what matters is how honest the officials are who are running cricket in this country, who allow these kind of things to happen. So I think these are two small but important points for cricket to prosper in the age group segment.
I think, to be fair to BCCI, they're trying very hard to stop this fudging.
Yes.
If I remember right, there were a couple of Bombay cricketers who were banned by BCCI for a couple of years because they were playing in the wrong age group, if I might put it mildly. So if they can take action against Mumbai cricketers, I'm sure they will have looked at a number of young players. But the fact is that there is no scientific way in which to find a person's real age. You can only do a rough estimation. Even the X-rays, the X-rays of the jaw or the X-rays of the wrist or the elbow will only give you an approximation. And sometimes parents have taken sports organizations to court because they have cited studies to show that these are not accurate. It is a problem that we're going to live with. I think the fact that the government has made birth certificates mandatory now will help, because there can be only one birth certificate. But in India, we have known instances of people fudging the birth certificates as well, or faking them. Hopefully, our conscience, our system will improve, and we will get to see age group cricket as it is meant to be. You will get to see a 17-year-old playing 17 cricket for the under 17, and not somebody who's 19 or 20 playing in the under 17 category. I think the assembly line, if you can call it that, is probably progressing in the right direction. And
yes, it is, absolutely.
With someone like a Rahul Dravid involved at the NCA, with Anil Kumble at one point of time being in the technical committee, with Saurav Ganguly leading the board at that point of time.
These people have actually experienced, they have experienced these problems. I mean, when these guys played their age group cricket, I'm sure they must have been through so many instances of playing against boys who are probably much bigger than them, or even they were at a disadvantage, if I may put it that way. So I guess with Rahul, Saurav, that's right. I mean, absolutely.
Dada, we can keep talking about the assembly line and never get bored. We can do a good 1 hour conversation on Moin-ud-Dowla and not be satisfied. We could talk for an hour about the Giles Shield in Bombay and never get satisfied. But I think we should be able to hold the attention of our of people who are watching, and we should get them to come back and when we talk another subject very soon.
And I'd like to know the views of people watching this. So, what their views are about the assembly line. Is IPL is is age group cricket good for the nation? Is the assembly line sort of broken in any way from the old world scholastic cricket like school and college being nowhere now as compared to what it used to be in the past? We'd love to hear from you. So please feel free to say exactly what you want to say.
That should be it. I think that's a nice note to end this episode of Cricket Conversations, Dada. Thank you
Thanks,
very
Raj.
much for your time. As always, it's been fun discussing cricket with you.
Absolutely. Discussions are always fun, and I think hope to have many more. Maybe a topic which probably the readers could tell us, I mean, the listeners could tell us what they'd like to know, and we'd love to talk about it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And stay safe.